So you've decided to learn a sign language. Great. What do you do now? How do you start? Hi, my name is Vic. I'm deaf and I educate about sign languages. The first thing you're going to want to do is establish which sign language is right for the community you're going to be interacting with. What's going to enable you to communicate with your local deaf community, or for you and your child to communicate and them to then go on and be able to interact with the deaf community. There are over 200 sign languages in the world. Some people say it's closer to 300. So you really have to think about it. Usually, it's going to be the sign language of the nation you live in. If you live in Japan, Japanese Sign Language; Australia, Auslan or Australian Sign Language; Ireland, Irish Sign Language. Some countries, remember, have multiple sign languages. The United States of America has American Sign Language, Black American Sign Language, and then some of the First Nations have sign languages. Northern Ireland, small country, but some communities use Irish Sign Language, some use British Sign Language, and those are not mutually intelligible sign languages. So make sure you're learning the right one for you, for the community you're going to be interacting with. Second thing, go online, ideally YouTube, and look up videos that show you the fundamental handshapes of that sign language, often referred to as the sign language alphabet, and learn those before you take a class, before you find a tutor, because when you have those fundamentals down, it's going to make it so much easier. So if you were learning something like French Sign Language, or German Sign Language, American or Irish Sign Language, it's A, B, C, D. If you were learning British Sign Language, it's A, B, C, D. Very often, the tutor starts assuming that you have already got the alphabet down. That's certainly the case for any of the beginners classes of Irish and British Sign Language that I've seen, because it's so easy to find tutorials and videos for these things. So it makes sense. Just while you're doing that, practice it with both hands if it's a single-handed alphabet. So don't just learn A, B, C, D, but learn A, B, C, D. Let's talk about dominant hand and weak hand, or active hand and passive hand. Different sign languages have different terms for them. If you are right-handed, your dominant hand is your right hand. If you are left-handed, your dominant hand is your left hand. For me, vaccine is that. If I were left-handed, it would be that. For me, uncle is that. But if I were left-handed, it would be that. The two things that I would advise next are finding a class that is led by a deaf tutor or someone who has been fully educated within the deaf community. That could be a CODA, a child of a deaf adult, or it could be someone who's gone to university and specifically trained to be a tutor and is somehow integrated within the deaf community. Finding that tutor now, you might be finding one online, or you might be finding one in person. If you live in a city, I don't, I live in the middle of nowhere. Look out for adult education centers where you may actually be able to go in person. Going along to an in-person class is a much more immersive experience. It also gives you a better sense of the location and the movement of things. Sometimes learning from a tutor in an online environment can be a little restrictive because you can think you've understood a movement, but it's kind of a flat image and you might not be understanding exactly the details of it. If online is your only option, if like me, you live in the middle of nowhere, or you don't have transport, or there isn't an adult education class or a deaf society class that's in your area and teaching the local sign language, by all means, online is useful. At the same time as finding a class, I would advise finding a book like this. Now, this is for Irish Sign Language. You'd have to find one for your local sign language, but it's a picture dictionary for the sign language. The advantage of that is it not only shows the signs, it describes them as well. This can be a really, really useful way of just bolstering the amount of sign language that you have, because you want to say something, you being given terms and words and phrases by the teacher, but there are going to be things you want to say yourself. Work on two things: precision and performance. Sign languages really do need to be quite precise. You can completely change the meaning of something. So there's a sign in Irish Sign Language for vaccine, which is an A shape on the shoulder. But then the sign for narcotics is the same shape down by the elbow. So you want to be very sure of where you're hitting. If you hit here, I'm going to be confused. I'm not going to know which one you're referring to unless the context is very clear. Another one for Irish Sign Language is middle, where you tap your weak hand, and 15, where you rub your weak hand. But if you see the location of the hands hasn't changed, the shape of the hands hasn't changed, it's the movement that changes. Oh, another one, for example, the difference between D and 1. So if I do a D shape, I should have some space here in the fingers. If I do a 1, there's no space at all. If I'm doing deaf in Irish Sign Language, there's a space in the fingers. But if I'm doing independent or isolation, there's no space. And the other thing is performance. For me, this was really difficult. I'm someone who makes myself quite small. Years and years of masking, I have some neurodivergence, so I tend to keep my face quite still, my body quite still. Sign languages involve performance. You have to be able to use your body, and they can be a way of really helping you to loosen up. I showed in Irish Sign Language that idea for independent or isolation. But if I do those, they won't understand what I'm trying to say, because there's no tone, there's no, color in that. I'm not saying someone is independent and they're very self-reliant, or am I saying, it's so annoying that they won't listen, or am I saying, I love living in the middle of nowhere and this isolation being far away, or am I regretting this isolation? Do I not like it? If I'm talking about drama, am I like, juicy drama, or am I like, oh, not drama again? Or am I just saying, oh, there's a drama on TV? So performance and precision and performance, you're going to want to get those in, and they can sometimes feel like they're a little bit in conflict. Like there's a little back and forth on those, because you're trying to keep these crisp signs and you're thinking about it, but you're also trying to make your face expressive and make your body tell the story. That's a balance that takes time. Probably took me a couple of years to get that down, but it's so worth it to try and get that in from the start, and try and get those expressions going, and try and loosen the shoulders a bit, get that movement in. The final piece of advice I would have is, even though you won't be able to understand fluent sign language, it's worth watching things for 10 minutes every day just to get an impression of what fluent sign language looks like. Something like the news with sign language. So in Ireland, every day, just before 6 o'clock, there's a very short segment of news, which is the news with ISL, and they have the text, and they have someone signing. Maybe there's an announcement on, a government announcement, and they have someone signing. Just watch the person signing. If there's programs with sign language option, maybe record one of those and watch a bit of it. Or go out, meet people in the deaf community, and just watch what sign language really is. It'll break the habit of trying to directly mirror a spoken German sentence in German Sign Language, because they shouldn't be mirrored. And you'll start to understand, oh, pronouns are getting dropped. Time often needs to come early in the sentence to give the context of what's going on and when it happened and what the verbs are, depending on the sign language. You want to put context before you fingerspell, especially if it's an unfamiliar thing. Like if I'm signing about companies that I've worked for that are small companies in other countries, I would probably indicate company or company before I give the name of it. So then when someone is then watching me fingerspell, they're kind of, they have an idea of where I'm going with this and they have a context to put around it. It's also very common if you're going to fingerspell someone's name, like if I was going to say the Ukrainian president and then sign Vladimir Zelensky, because if I just start in the middle of nowhere, out of nowhere, signing, fingerspelling Vladimir Zelensky, it's going to be quite challenging for someone to get if they don't have the context to kind of put it all together. So there you go. What's your local sign language? What are the hand shapes? Learn them. Know your dominant hand from your weak hand. Find a tutor, ideally in person, online if you can't. Ideally, that tutor should be deaf or educated within the deaf community. Get yourself a picture dictionary. Understand precision, understand performance, and expose yourself to lots of fluent signing. That's how you get started. I believe in you. You can do this. You've got it. Okay, I have a blog. It's Partner and Ally is the name of the blog. I talk about my journey into silence, my deafness. I talk about transition, because we're a queer couple here and transition has been part of our lives. And I talk about other things that come up around disability, partnership, and so on. You can find me on Patreon as well, patreon.com/Vic Kelly. If you want to support what I'm doing, I would greatly appreciate it. And of course, subscribe, like, share, and come back and see more. Thank you for listening. Take care. Bye now.